Good evening. My name is Phil Brewer, and this evening I'm going to be comparing three different political monarchies. The first being the Ottoman Empire, the second being the French monarchy, and the third finally being the English monarchy. So let's get into it. First, let's look back at the Ottoman Empire. One thing that we'll see is they were a very nomadic people in origin. And it wasn't until they decided to start consolidating their power that they became a true empire. One thing that this granted them was more stability in their lives. They were able to establish permanent settlements. Now, if we look at the French and the English monarchies, they were a little bit different in their origin because they set out to expand their territory, much like the Ottoman Empire did, but they set out from more permanent places already. They had been living in their area of origin for quite some time. They did try to attempt to expand. Sometimes this worked, sometimes this didn't. So they had some successes and some failures. But unlike the Turks, the French and the English began from a permanent place of origin. Moving on, what I would like to look at is how they were ruled. They had a few different ways of ruling. The Ottomans were ruled by a sultan, and that was basically their version of a king. Now, he claimed this title for himself and made himself the supreme authority in both a political and a military sense, just as the King of France or the King or Queen of England had. The Sultan ruled through an imperial council that upheld the traditions and laws of their heritage and their faith. In a roundabout way, so did the French and the English monarchies. The King of France actually consulted with a royal council, which was his chief administrating body of officials. According to the book that we've been reading, The Essential World History, the King or Queen of England actually also worked with a group of people known as Parliament. They actually worked hand in hand with the Parliament in what they called a balanced polity in order to effectively rule England. Now I would like to move on to religion. Religion can be kind of a touchy subject, especially where different religions are concerned. This is where some of these monarchies are going to start to differ. All three of them were based in one religion, and it was their cornerstone, if you will, that held them tightly together, and that's where they based their life from. The Ottomans hailed Islam as their true nationality's religion, their one main religion, if you will. However, they eventually separated into two different doctrines of Islam. These two groups became known as the Sunnis and the Shiites. These two did not get along very well either. This caused also a lot of tension throughout this empire. Following suit were the English, whom were solely Catholic for generations and generations until Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation came into play. Again, according to our book, The Essential World History, the Protestant Reformation actually divided the English Empire religiously into the Catholics and the Protestants. Now, in regards to France, their culture has always been strongly established in Catholicism, and they didn't see any reason to change or stray from those convictions, since they felt their king had been appointed to them through God. This is actually called absolutism. The English monarchy also adopted absolutism as well, having the king being appointed by God. So the Ottomans and the English were very similar, having been separated into two different camps of religion as well, but both based out of the same main religion that their heritage started from. The French never saw any reason to change that. This is how I decided to compare these three monarchies. You can see the differences they had as far as religion, the differences they had as far as ruling and who they answered to, and then you can also see the differences based off of their origin, how they were either nomadic or came from a permanent place of origin. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you've learned something. Thank you very much. Bye.